Harp on Sports, the Bar, podcast, media, audio, and radio network. What do we have in store for you on this edition of the program? Trouble in Tampa at 3-3. The Bucs find themselves a little bit of a crossroads. They do. Is it batten down the hatches, panic time? We're not quite there yet, but something should fire up a little red flag. Something should at this point. Correctable, but concerning, yes. So we're going to look at that. Also, a little Napier nuance. Florida loses to LSU again. What's it like 10 times in 13 games? This is the first senior class at Florida that didn't beat LSU in 40 years. Yeah, ugly over the weekend. They're above 500. Went to a bowl game last year despite all the chaos. Getting back to a bowl game this year was paramount. But when you take a step back and look at it, there are boxes that Napier is checking. He's got 2 more to check this year for it to be successful. Beating LSU wasn't one of them. It could have been. But there's 2 boxes that he has to check. So we're going to look at that. And also, counting the college football playoff. I went through and looked at this. 22 teams still have a shot to make the college football playoff. Only 22. We're going to tell you who they are. Little anecdotal stuff as we get ready for the halfway point of the college football season. We're actually there. Again, Harp on Sports, the Bar, podcast, media, audio, radio network. Follow, share, like, subscribe at Harp on Sports Twitter, at Harp on Sports Instagram, Harp on Sports Buzzsprout, Auditory Route, Buzzsprout, Spotify, Apple Podcast. Also Harp on Sports, the Bar YouTube channel, and harponsports.com. Okay. Look, where we are with Tom Brady and, losing at Pittsburgh, it's a bad Steelers team right now. And look, teams are losing in places they shouldn't. Teams are losing to teams they shouldn't. Packers losing at home to the Jets. Ugh. The Jaguars seemingly have a stranglehold on the Colts. And what do? A couple weeks ago, they shut them out. Then they lose in Indianapolis. So, look, you go around the league, look what happened to the Niners. It happens sometimes. It does. And then there's games that the Bills-Chiefs game lived up to the hype. Josh Allen made a play, Patrick Mahomes didn't. So you have to take a step back when you look at some of these things, right? But overall, it's not that the Bucs are losing. What would be the concerning thing is, they lose to the Chiefs at home, fine. Lose to the Packers at home, okay. Losing at Pittsburgh, ooh. The thing is, if you were at full strength and everything was fine, it'd be one thing. Julio Jones being out, you had Mike Evans, okay. You had a bunch of receivers dropping passes. And the fact that Tom Brady went to Robert Kraft's wedding, look, I don't fault him in that. He's 45 years old. I get it. The guy, he was the owner of the team that gave him his shot. I get all that. I do. You get away with it if you win. If you lose, you really can't. You really can't. And you may sit around and say, he doesn't need to be there. Yeah, the quarterback's a different position. It's not a corner. It's not a wide receiver. It's the quarterback. And Nick Mangold, former Jet, went after Brady on Twitter saying, boy, it must be nice. Missed team meetings, missed the team plane. He did. Went to the wedding, flew in. There you go. Well, he's earned that. Well, that's fine. But in this day and age in the NFL, look, he's not Dennis Rodman. Where Dennis Rodman in the NBA Finals would go and then show up and go. Look, because he was the third part of that trinity, right? Brady's it. The quarterback, it's just a different beast. So the way I look at this is it, oh my gosh, they're not hosed. It's not completely and totally irredeemable at this point. But the Falcons all of a sudden have a little life. They're 500. The Saints, you don't know. Carolina Panthers, that's just dreadful. But still, the division's bad. Look, the Bucs can win that division. The Bucs can go 10-7 and win that division. The problem is you start to look around the league, and the good news for the Bucs is only one team can come out of that NFC East. More than likely, whether it's the Cowboys or the Giants or the Eagles, one of those 2 teams is going to be the 5th and 6th wildcard team, which probably means one of those 2 teams is going to end up in Tampa. So Tampa's going to be hosting the Giants, the Cowboys, or the Eagles if the Bucs win that division. Now, are they going to be a 3 seed, 4 seed? We'll find out. I just look at the NFC right now. The Vikings, the way the Vikings are playing, the way the Bucs sit there at 3-3. The Bucs, if the Bucs would go now, look, I'm pushing it too. 8-3 down the stretch, that gets them to 11-6. Is that good enough for the 3 seed? Not going to be good enough for the 1 seed. But then again, 2 years ago they went and won 3 games on the road, so that's why I'm not. Oh my gosh! But the going to the wedding and then missing it, and all of a sudden there's dissension amongst the ranks. He's yelling at his offensive lineman. They're not on the same page. Could that have been fixed on a Saturday with a walkthrough? I don't know. But the fact that he even asked that question shows you that it's a problem. Not done, not over. There's a bunch of teams, 3-3. If you're 2-4, oh, you got some problems. If you're 1-5, you're out of it. Forget it. There's a team that's 2-4 that will make the playoffs. Go find them somewhere. Somebody will. You get to 2-5, you got no shot. But the question is, the Bucs win, fine, but can the Bucs go on the road and win in the postseason? And Brady flips the switch. He flips the switch. I get it, but at 45, it's tougher to do that. It is. And could you imagine Tom Brady 4 or 5 years ago skipping out on a Saturday to go? It's like, he didn't go with Giselle. Oh, okay, if you want to go down that personal route, that's fine. But he misses a walkthrough Saturday, team together. When he took Wednesdays off and was away to be with his family, and all of this stuff has kind of unraveled on him. Will it be worth it? That's up to him. Who knows will it be worth it? They get to the postseason, go to the NFC Championship game, and I don't know. This season alone isn't the reason why he and his missus are allegedly having problems. Come on, be smarter than that. It's deeper than that. Any rational person would understand that. So, Tampa trouble? Yeah. I look at the Buccaneers like this. I look at the Buccaneers as somebody through the first 6 games is getting a C in a class. 500, right? The Buccaneers are getting a C in a class through the first third of the semester. Okay, now what? Okay, now you got to figure it out. Now you got to get some A's. Now you got to get some A's to drag that up to a B, and then hopefully you nail you get your midterm and you nail the final and you can get an A. But the Bucs right now, they teetering, not quite yet. The division's bad enough. In the NFC, and they're going to get to host it. Okay, they might have to go on the road, and who knows how this will end up. The NFC's a muddled mess outside of the NFC East. So trouble in Tampa. Halloween's right around the corner. It's brewing. Well, pot on the stove. The heat's up. It's not quite boiling yet, but you can start to feel it. You can start to hear it. So from that to this, a little Napier nuance for you. Gators lose. LSU. And I take a step back and look at this, that was a home game against a team that just lost by 30 at home to Tennessee. Should Florida have won it? Yes. Probably should have. They were favored. I was one of the few people, media-wise, that even came out and said, I think Florida's going to lose. I did. I thought LSU was going to win. Why? Just following Brian Kelly at Notre Dame all those years. Seldom does he get drubbed twice in a row. Yeah, he'll lose to the Alabamas and the Clemsons on the big national championship stage, but they get embarrassed. Seems to find a way to bounce back. And when you get embarrassed, you kind of get everybody curtailed, get up for a rival, and then, look, there you go. And LSU did, had a 3-touchdown lead, ended up winning by 10. Now, that doesn't mean LSU's back. It's just some ugliness, right? The first senior class in 40 years not to have beaten LSU. Okay. But a successful season for Billy Napier this year. Look, the Utah game was fool's gold. Everybody, we beat Utah. They were in the Rose Bowl last year. Look what we've done. Oh yeah. When you get 5 months to prepare for a team, okay. Now what happens when you get 5 days to prepare for them? It's a little bit tougher. And now everybody's got film on Anthony Richardson. They got film on everybody, and they take things away. The defense gives up a ton of points. So did Alabama's defense. So does Tennessee's defense. You go around college football, you're going to give up a bunch of points at some point. Florida just does not have the weaponry on offense. You can run the ball well. They just don't have enough for what Billy Napier wants to do. They don't have it. There's a little nuance on this. I went through at the beginning of the year and told you I thought Florida was going to go 7-5. I still think they're going to go 7-5. Georgia's a loss, and then there'll be another one in there somewhere. He had to check certain boxes this year. and beating all the small teams, the low-hanging fruit, he's done. What's the low-hanging fruit on the schedule? Eastern Washington, USF. Those are the two big low-hanging fruits. Missouri, low-hanging fruit. And he's done those things. Yes. This team in the conference, they got 3 conference losses now. The East is over. Yeah, okay. The other games in there, the boxes that he needed to check out, you're talking about taking care of business. Like, he had to beat the South Carolinas and the Vandies and the Mizzous. He's got one of those down, he's got to beat the other 2. Then what? Well, then's when we start to get some question marks, right? I wrote this down with this. Losing to Kentucky, losing to LSU's fine. He picked up the win over Utah. He got a big win. He has got to find a way to beat A&M, Florida State. If he beats A&M, takes care of business against South Carolina, takes care of business against Vandy, okay. Georgia, LSU, he could lose to Georgia and A&M, sit there with 5 losses, beat South Carolina, beat Vandy, beat Florida State 7-5. Is it the greatest season in the world? No, but he's beaten one of the rivals. Look, he beats A&M, loses to Georgia, beats South Carolina, beats Vandy, loses to Florida State. See what I'm saying? The win over Utah, week 1, okay, he needs another one of those feel-good wins. Would LSU have given that to you? Probably a little bit, but to me, A&M on the road, Georgia, you put on its own planet. You win that in a successful season, forget about it. But Florida State, A&M, he's got to win one of those 2. That's if you put in the back pocket Vandy and South Carolina, which Vandy you can. South Carolina, a little bit more interesting. But at least you get South Carolina at home, you get Vandy there, so it lays itself out. It does. It lays itself out for you. We'll see. We'll see how this plays itself out. But right now, they're fine. They're fine right now. So, I wrote down year 1, stabilize and show progress. Stabilize the organ. Yes, he stabilized things and showing progress. The defense sucks. Oh, fine. I don't know why everybody thought it was going to be a magic wand. You have to look at Florida as somebody that's serious about losing weight. Not one of those big tubbalards that weighs 600 pounds, but let's say somebody wants to lose 25 pounds. You lose 10 pounds in a week, that's not realistic. You're going to gain it right back. It's a lifestyle change, right? When we talk about building a culture, it's a lifestyle change. I'm going to lose 25 pounds. I'm going to work out every day. I'm going to dress better. It's a lifestyle change. A lifestyle change isn't, Coca-Cola, I'm switching to diet. No, that's not a lifestyle change. A lifestyle change is, hey, look, no more red meat, no more, I'm going to cook my own meals, get up at 6 a.m. every day, 5 a.m. every day. That's a lifestyle change. And Florida's undergoing a lifestyle change right now. Born again. Easier said than done, but they got their hands full. And I think Billy Napier is a good coach. Patience is a virtue. Nobody has it. It's just going to take a while to get this done. And, Kentucky, LSU, so close. Now you have to kind of take a step back and say, Tennessee up there, Vandy, South Carolina in the pocket, A&M, Georgia, right? Then Florida State's the big one at the end of the year. And Florida State's circling that one too. And Norvell will need it more than Napier in year 3 as opposed to year 1. And Florida beating them 4 straight times? 5 straight times now? Want to wrap with this. I wrote this down, counting the college football playoff. We're at halfway point, a little bit past in some instances. My next podcast, I'm going to look at the halfway awards, who should win the Heisman, Coach of the Year, all of those things. But at the halfway mark, 22 teams still have a chance to go to the college football playoff. 22. In the SEC, there's 4 that still have a shot. Undefeated Georgia, undefeated Ole Miss, undefeated Tennessee, Ole Miss, or Alabama. Who'd have thought Alabama would be 4th in that equation? Alabama still controls their own destiny, right, in their division. Tennessee, Georgia, what's going to be interesting is the team that loses that, do they run the table, don't play in the conference championship game, sitting there jumping up and down going, hey, we went 11-1, come on. The Georgia-Tennessee loser is going to find themselves maybe in great shape, but the Georgia-Tennessee loser is going to find themselves in a very similar position to what the Ohio State, Michigan loser finds themselves in, because the only two teams that are going to beat those two teams are each other. They just are. So I look at that again. 4 in the SEC. 22 teams have a shot still for the college football playoff. 4 in the ACC. Undefeated Clemson, undefeated Syracuse, same division. Wake Forest is 5-1, same division. And then you have North Carolina, who's 6-1. Now, is Wake going to go to the college football playoff? No, but I'm telling you, the teams that still have a kicking and screaming shot. Now, do I think an 11-1 Wake Forest that wins the ACC 12-1 is going to get in? No, I think they'd put a second SEC, a second, ACC or second Big Ten, but they give themselves a shot. Realistically, probably undefeated Syracuse and undefeated Clemson are the only ones that still have a shot at this thing, but 4 are still in contention, have a shot. In the Big 12, there's only 3. Undefeated TCU, Kansas State, Oklahoma State are both 5-1. Only 3 that have a shot out of the Big 12. Pac-12, there are 3. Undefeated UCLA, and then Oregon and USC. USC's 5-1 or 6-1. Oregon's 5-1. USC still plays UCLA. Notre Dame's not any good this year, but if you got a 12-1 Southern Cal sitting there at the end of the year and their only losses at Utah, it's gonna look pretty good. They play them again. Step back. Look at this realistically. 3 teams out of the Pac-12 and 4 out of the Big Ten. Now, I don't think Penn State's going to get there, but Penn State still has a chance. Why? Because if Penn State beats Ohio State and then Ohio State beats Michigan, well, Penn State, based on the tiebreakers and how all that stuff moves up, they still give themselves a shot. Now, are they going to? Not getting embarrassed by 24 points on the road, but a 12-1 Penn State at the end of the year is going to be pretty daunting. And I saw a Notre Dame team lose by 30 points to Clemson and still make the college football playoff a couple years ago. So, I mean, still a shot. And then, ready for this? Illinois. Illinois sitting there at 6-1. You may laugh, Illinois. Well, again, it's a Big Ten champ that could be 12-1. That division's terrible. And then they got a road game. They play Ohio State in there too. Or Michigan. Illinois plays Michigan. So Michigan has a path to get in there. If Illinois beat Michigan and Michigan would run the table and they beat them again. See? So again, there's where they sit. And I just gave you 22 teams. So looking at this right now, realistically, what if you're just sitting there being honest with yourself? Tennessee going into Georgia? No. Not going to happen. Alabama will beat Ole Miss. If we're going to be honest with each other, that's what we would think would happen. Then you'd have an Alabama-Georgia SEC championship game still, right? And then where it gets tricky is if Alabama would then beat Georgia, because then you'd have Georgia with a loss, Tennessee with a loss. Tennessee would say, we beat Alabama. Alabama went to the SEC championship and won it. Yeah. If Ole Miss beats Alabama, Alabama's out and the path becomes clear. These one-loss teams make things convoluted. Undefeated Ohio State, undefeated Michigan, one of those teams loses, then then that debate begins. And what would be really bizarre is what do you do at the end of the year with let's say Ohio State would beat Michigan. What do you do with an 11-1 Ohio State that doesn't, or 11-1 Michigan that doesn't go to the Big Ten championship game, and an 11-1 Tennessee that doesn't go? Tennessee is going to beat Alabama. We beat Alabama. We lost to Georgia. See, that's where oh boy. But getting all involved with that, I always say this stuff kind of clears itself out. Here we are halfway through. 22 teams have a shot. After this weekend, it'll probably be down to 18. 3 or 4 are going to drop every weekend. Happens every year. Harp On Sports, the Bar Podcast Media Audio Radio Network. Follow, share, like, subscribe at Harp On Sports Twitter, at Harp On Sports Instagram, Auditory Route, Buzzsprout, Spotify, Apple Podcast, Harp On Sports YouTube channel, Harp On Sports, the Facebook page, and of course, harponsports.com. Remember, stay clean, stay focused, stay strong. Frankenstein. Have fun with your friends.